Hey, Choose Life Nation. This is Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach, and you are watching or listening to another episode of the Rebound Coach Live. Number one, I am incredibly honored that you are here today, whether you are here with me live as we stream or if you are watching the replay. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your time with us. I know that there are 1,000 times 10, 1,000 times 1,000 places to be on the internet, and you have found your way here over to this corner. And I want to say thanks. So, if it is your first time here with Choose Life Nation, if this is your first time here watching or listening to an episode of the Rebound Coach Live, I would love to share just a little bit of how we got to spend our time together here today. Here's a headline. I was married 10 years to a man who wanted me dead. And that makes no sense for someone who had my background. I was raised in a godly home, a Christian home. I had parents that were love God, love each other, married for a lifetime until my mother passed some years back. And they were a good example of love and family. At the same time, I was molested from the time I was 8 until 16. And as common as that unfortunately is in our nation and in our world, it is just as devastating. So it radically affects how you see yourself, how you see God in a household of faith, and how I related to men, as those were identity forming years. So fast forward, I met the man that I married and eventually divorced. And y'all, there were definitely red flags. There were reasons not to be together. There were things to be concerned about, and I was concerned about them. However, as a praying woman, I believed God's answer was yes. And because of that, I believed that whatever came, we would outlast it, we would overcome it. God would swoop in and save the day and fix him and change things. And all I had to do was wait. And all I had to do was pray. And all I had to do was my part and be a good wife, and everything would work itself out. And so I endeavored to do just that for the better part of 9 years, almost 10 years. We got into a cycle of what I call coping and crisis. So this is where you're not quite good, you're never quite satisfied, you're not happy at any point, you're just kind of coping, and you've learned how to walk on eggshells, and you've learned how to do your best to not upset him or trigger him, or you've learned the PR dance. You're pretty good out in public, and you're doing your best to keep everything together. And it seems like no matter how hard you work at that, and how no matter what you do, something comes along, some crisis comes along, just blows the whole thing up. And that's the coping and crisis dance. And so all your house of cards that you've been fiercely protecting all this time just went poof. And now you're carefully trying to put things back together and put your life at least where it looks like it's going to be okay. And you do the coping dance some more. And so we were in that cycle almost for a full 10 years. It was just about, over 9, almost 10. End of 2019, beginning of 2020, everything blew up. Everything hit the fan, okay? So there was plenty of adultery throughout the entire marriage. But at that time, he actually left for another woman. And the day after, I found that he and that woman were plotting my murder. And I have to pause every time you say it, because it's not a plot in a movie. This was my actual life. And you're like, wait, what? And that's kind of where I was. It's the record scratch moment in the movie where you're just like, what? I can't believe it. How did this become my life? And it didn't make a lot of sense for me. And I had a lot of important, or a few really big important decisions to make. And it was a really scary, chaotic time, and a heartbreaking time. And so today we're talking about healing rituals for broken hearts. And, I had to decide whether or not I was going to allow the identity that my ex-husband planned for me, and the one that I had agreed to, if I'm honest, because as long as I did not stand in conflict in defiance of what he had defined for me, I was saying, okay, I'll agree to that. I could allow that, which literally had a death date for me, tell me how long I was allowed to live, what I was allowed to do with these days I have here on this planet, how I could parent, how I was supposed to express my faith, how I was supposed to express my femininity, like everything. I could let that tell me my life was an option, or I could choose life. And so, out of that entire season, I wrote my second book. It's a memoir, and it's called I Choose Life. Rewrite your love story and change your legacy. And now, this is not only just about my very, very abusive marriage and the way that God rescued me. That is all in here. And if you're the kind of person that likes crime videos or crime shows and receipts, like this is for you. It's not just that, it is how I learned to love and how I learned to be loved, which is what I call your love story. And that is something that existed long before I met anyone romantically. And it's what informed my steps and my decisions. So if anything in my story resonates with you, or if there's someone you're thinking of, like, man, so and so needs to hear this, get this book. You can find it at thereboundcoach.com/book. That is thereboundcoach.com/book. You can get one of these physical copies that I will personally sign and mail off to you, or you can get an ebook copy, or you can get a copy straight from Amazon. All of that information is at thereboundcoach.com/book. I know this is backwards to you, but you can still get it. Okay, so healing rituals for broken hearts. Here's what I learned. One of the things I learned that I wasn't alone amidst everything I was going through. I was part of a Facebook group, a couple of them, but really one that was very, very instrumental in helping me heal. And it was filled with other women who were going through the same thing. They were discovering abuse in their marriage. They were discovering that what was going on was abuse. They were discovering betrayals. They were experiencing trauma. They were deciding and figuring out and learning and praying about whether or not God wanted them free of this marriage. And I was going through those same things. And these were women that were fiercely devoted to God and fiercely devoted to marriage. And it was a heartbreak that is not thought about. It's almost not included in what you're allowed to grieve when you're a God-fearing woman that finds herself in an abusive marriage and having to say, I understood God to be a certain way. So it's not just I was expecting my husband to behave in a certain way, but I was expecting God to behave a certain way. And that's a heartbreak in and of itself. It's a grieving. And so what I saw were people early in their healing, early in their process, either deciding to divorce or divorcing, or sometimes staying, trying to stay well as best they could, right? They were in those process. They were uncertain about the future and really afraid, really scared about what was about to happen. No matter what happens when a couple decides to divorce, whether it goes smoothly in the courts, whether she gets to keep custody of her kids, whether she gets alimony and child support, like no matter how it shakes down practically, it is still a major change in anyone's life. And it's still something that, you're uncertain about what the future is going to hold and what are things going to look like, and how is my life going to be, and will I be safe, all of that. So uncertainty about the future. They're most often shocked, shocked by their husband, shocked by God. There's so many questions about, God told me to marry this person, and God knew what this person would do to me. Is God's will to hurt me? So serious questions about faith, serious questions about God, serious questions about how did I get here, and what am I supposed to do at this point? So they were shocked by their husband, shocked by God. They were angry. at the injustice. I don't think we talk about anger enough because it's not the base emotion, but it's part of it. The injustice of is this not fair? For me, it was like I did everything I was supposed to do. I married the man I was supposed to marry. I waited until I got married to have sex. I did everything I was supposed to do. Wait, church, you told me that this was supposed to work out. If I did it right, it was supposed to work out. And the honesty of it is there's no guarantees, and no one can guarantee you a formula for someone else's behavior. You just can't. There's no matter what you do, you can't control somebody else's behavior and choices. So they're angry at the injustice of it all. And at the bottom, underneath the anger, is just being hurt and brokenhearted. I had women have, we have expectation on our romantic partners, on our spouses. We have expectations on lots of people, including ourselves, including God. Expectations, and when those are not met, you're just hurt. What I hear often, in groups such as that is, it's not fair. This other person is, my husband went to go be with this other person, and now my husband's doing everything that I wish they had done with me. They're doing with them. They're going to the fun places. They're doing the fun things. He's taking care of her kids and not my kids. All of it. This great, great disappointment, deep, deep disappointment. That is grief, and it is hurt, and it is anger, and that all comes together in this broken-hearted state of being. And that's okay, right? Number one, you have permission. You have permission to be brokenhearted. You have permission to be angry. You have permission to rage against the injustice, because it is just that. And what I want to share with you is some practical things, that you can do to bring healing to your broken heart. First of all, just giving yourself permission to be brokenhearted. Even when you don't like what you had, you can still miss it. That's the truth. We all get accustomed to a certain way of living. And then when that changes, even if it changed for a good reason, even if what you're used to was abusive and toxic and dangerous, and that ends, you still like, man, that's what I was used to. That was my life for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, 37 years, right? Even if it was horrible, you're still accustomed to it. And so there's a shift that happens in your heart when those things change. So even abusive marriages aren't absent of love. This is important because we often stay because we love our partner, we love our spouse, right? And there's an argument for even spouses that are terrible, that treat us terribly. There's an argument that there's love present. I heard from the Holy Spirit at one time that hatred is just angry love. It's angry love, it's hurt love, it's vindictive love, right? But it is a measure of love, because you can't have that fiery, that passionate of a feeling about someone you don't even care about. Even if the passion in the fire is a negative, you can't hate someone unless you have some sort of affection for them to begin with. So even abusive marriages are not absent of love. And when we are free from an abusive relationship, of course, we're happy to be free of their mistreatment, physical, emotional, financial, spiritual mistreatment. We're happy to be free of that. We also are not free of the affection we have for our partner, the things that we liked about them, the things that we loved about them, why we said yes to them, right? All those things are still present, and it's okay to feel both relief and heartbreak and love. It's okay and regret. Like, all of those things are okay to exist at the same time. And so Um, Even when you're juggling, okay, so then when we're divorcing, there's a lot of practical things that have to be handled, and all of your adulting muscles are flexing, okay, because you have your regular household responsibilities. The house has to be clean. You have to pay your bills. Now you're also going to court, and you're also dealing with custody and with lawyers and with family members and their opinions. And for some of us, with the church and the church leadership and their opinions, and friend groups and their opinions, right? So we're dealing with all of that. You might have a spouse that um, did a smear campaign and told people a bunch of lies, and you're trying to manage other people's stories that they have about you. You may be dealing with financial things. You may be discovering new levels of betrayal. That was my story. Even throughout the separation and divorce process, I learned about all sorts of mess that was going on. I had no idea. I had no idea. Just horrible things. Just horrible things. And they just would be around the corner like, boom. Like you just living your life, and then here's some more, and here's some more. And it was scary. It was absolutely scary. So if you are, and they call that D-Day. So if you are having multiple D-Days in your process, I understand. I got you. Um, so you might be dealing with court, you might be dealing with more betrayal, you might be dealing with custody battles and visitations and dating and smear campaigns and finances. Like amongst all of that very practical, I have to keep my head together. I have to keep my stuff together so that I can get things done, and I have to get things done right. Okay. Yes, all of that is true. What else is also true? That you must tend to your heart. You must also tend to your heart. And I know, this is what I know. I know, I can hear it. I can hear your thoughts. I can hear your thoughts. You're saying, Dallas, I can't tend to my heart. I have to tend to my kids. I have to tend to my house. I have to tend to my job. I have to go get a job. I have to get this finances together. I have to tend to my lawyer, my legal case. I have to tend to all these. Yes, my heart doesn't have time, right? This is not the priority. I hear you. Here's what I'm also going to say. When you don't tend to your heart, everyone pays the price. Everyone. Not no, it's just me, Dallas. I pay the price because I'm sad and I cry myself to sleep. No, no, no. No, no, no. It's not just you. Your kids pay a price, whether they're in the house with you or not. Your family pays a price, your extended family, the people that are trying to help you right now. Your friend group pays a price. Your pet pays a price if you live with a pet, right? Everyone in your circle is affected by whether or not your heart is tended to. Now, this is not only for people who are in divorce, but all of us. All of us, when our heart is not tended to, when there are wounds that are neglected, that are, imagine a physical wound that is neglected. So now it's infested and infected and dirty. Maybe there's pus, and maybe there's blood, and maybe there's scarring, right? That's just not tended to. What's going to happen? Like that the bone is eventually going to come off, right? Because it's so gross. This is how we treat our hearts. And we're like, I'm just going to soldier on through it. No. Your heart must also be tended to, or we all pay. When we make poor decisions, when we make poor decisions because our heart is broken, when we make poor decisions because we are afraid, because we are hurt, because we are trying to avoid hurt again, when we do that, we're making decisions that affect ourselves and everyone around us. Everyone around us. Everyone is affected. So, okay, what are some things that you can do? All right, you've convinced me I have to tend to my heart. What do I do? I sure would love to be healed. Here's first thing to keep in mind. This is not a sprint. It is a marathon. We did not get to this place overnight, nor shall you leave it overnight. Okay? Give yourself grace. Some of these are very small things, other things are little bigger things that you can do. But please, please give yourself grace. You're not going to do this perfectly. You're not going to do it every single day. You're going to give yourself grace and take one step at a time and do one thing at a time. And if you just remember this one thing, great. This is will be on a replay. You can go replay it and remind yourself, well, what was that other thing? Okay. All right. You ready? If you're taking notes, journaling, number one. Something it's easy. This is easy to do. Journaling your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. Well, what if they're nasty? Especially if they're nasty. Especially when we need to be journaling. Okay. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm happy about. This is what I'm scared about. This is what I'm sad about. Like all the things. Journaling to release. Number two, and this is something you can do by yourself. Journaling is something you can do by yourself. Number two, spend time in safe spaces. Gather your support team. Who is my support team? Nobody supports me, Dallas. Nobody. Okay, I beg to differ. You're on here on Facebook or YouTube or somewhere where you can see this. It's because that you are part of at least a digital community. All right. Now, do they replace, in-person local friends? No, but sometimes they're pretty great. Okay. Find yourself a Facebook group that can support you. We have Choose Life Challenge is one of the support groups that I have on Facebook. But also you can just reach out to me via DM. Okay, whichever platform you're watching this on, there's a DM feature. Just reach out and say, hey, I don't have anybody to support me. Will you support me? Absolutely, I will. Okay, so gather your support team. And I always remind people of this. In my own life, there was lots of love already around me that I did not choose to acknowledge or choose to use or allow. And it can be as simple as allowing other people to love you, allowing family members, allow friends, allow church community, allow people who already care about you to love you, to help you, to listen to you, to pray with you. All the practical and unpractical things, right? So allowing that in. Spend time in safe spaces and gather your support team. Number three, release some of that bitterness that we talked about, that anger, that grief. Speak your truth. A lot of times we are so busy moving that we don't have time to process, and or we might have a situation where we have to keep up appearances, or we feel we do. So once you've gathered your safe people in your safe space, speak your truth and say, hey, will you just listen? I just don't give me any advice. Don't give me any answers. I'm not looking for solutions right this moment. I just need to release and just speak your heart. And what I have found is even if you don't know the fullness of what it is you want to say, you just get started and it'll flow. It'll flow, and you will learn so much more about yourself and how you're processing everything. And it helps you move through. It's a really powerful exercise. So I encourage you to do that. That is number three. Okay. Number four. Now, this is kind of next level. So it depends on how far you are along in this process. If it's been some months, maybe a year since your divorce, and maybe you live in a new place or whatever the courts have settled. Okay. When you are ready, get rid of some of the old stuff. Okay. Now, I had mementos, and a matter of fact, we just had a day of healing this past weekend, which was really, really fun. And I heard someone say this that was there. It says, I've been divorced for a while, but I never did get rid of the mementos. And this person was in a new relationship, and just I've never gotten rid of some of the pictures and some of the little things and some of this, some of that. And I understand, unless you intentionally pause and rid yourself of those items, you just keep going. You might add another relationship or two or three and never really release some of that old stuff. And it's important that you do. So getting rid of the old things when you're ready for that. that is very, very much part of the grieving process. And it's not something you do until you're ready. And it doesn't mean that you're ready to get rid of all of it at once. You might be ready for some things and not for others. And it's just something that you on purpose take a look at all your clutter. Maybe once a year is a good time. Be like, okay, it's time for spring cleaning. What else can I release right now? Okay. So that is number 4. When you're ready, get rid of old things. And number 5 is make a new covenant. What do you mean by that? So, covenant is a word a little deeper than a contract idea, but a deal, making a deal. Now, when we got married, we made a deal. Okay, we made a deal with our partner, we made a deal with God, we made a deal in front of witnesses that we would do certain things thus and so, right? Now, when we're getting divorced or when we've been divorced, we voided the legal aspect of that deal. But we have an emotional aspect, a mind, will, and emotional aspect, and a spiritual aspect of the deal that maybe we never addressed. And it's important not only to disavow the things that we agreed to when we got married, but also to make new covenants. And who would I make a new covenant with? Make a new covenant with yourself. I will no longer allow myself to be abused. I will learn to love and honor myself. I will grow in love for myself, right? I will grow in love with God. I will take care of these children, right? So, making new agreements for yourself. This is how I choose to govern myself in this new season. It's a really important step. And when we don't intentionally do it, we're just living by default. And so often, default when you're brokenhearted is poor decisions. We are making poor decisions because we're not making intentional decisions. We're just on autopilot. And autopilot led us to where we were, right? So if we want to go to someplace new, we'll have to be intentional. So number 5 is making a new covenant. And number 6 is cultivating satisfaction. We meditate on all the problems, everything we don't have, everything we're upset about, everything he did, everything he did not do, and the new things he's doing, and everything, especially, it's a heavy temptation when you're going through divorce to deal with him only, to only focus on this other person. What we can do instead is to cultivate satisfaction. So what is that? Looking at what you do have, what you do like, what you can do, what God has done, and being satisfied. Literally choosing satisfaction. Well, if I choose satisfaction, then I'm not going to get this other thing that I don't have control of to change. You're right. You're right. You won't. And the truth is, you couldn't anyway, because you're not in control of that thing that you think is going to make you happy. If he would just stop doing, if he would just start doing, if only he would, right? He does not have the power over us. He never did. He only has the power we gave him. Okay. So take your power back. Decide that he doesn't get to control how happy and satisfied you are. You get to control that. And you can literally choose satisfaction regardless of what situation you're in. You can literally cultivate that. Now, you might be saying, like, those sound like good ideas, but how in the world do I do that? So when my 10-year anniversary was approaching, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. What I read of other women on the internet, they would like get ice cream in a sad movie and go cry. I was like, that doesn't sound like the choice for me. And some other people would throw parties and like go drinking and be like, woohoo, I'm happy. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a thing for me either. So I was praying about what to do, and God gave me an idea of a disavowal ceremony. And it was a very, very sacred, very beautiful event where I gathered just a few women. I had three women that I trusted, brought them into my home. I got to do these things, everything I laid out for you. I got to speak my truth in a safe environment. I got to talk about how angry and hurt I was, how shocked I was, how disappointed I was, disappointed with him, disappointed with God, disappointed with myself. I got to make a new covenant. I got to allow others to love me and speak life into me and speak truth into me. We got to have a beautiful meal together, and I celebrated the following day with a photo shoot with myself and my children. It was just an extremely healing, nourishing event or weekend or evening or moment that I'll never forget. I will absolutely never forget how sacred that time was for me. And the beautiful thing is, as the Rebound Coach, I am now facilitating those special ceremonies for other ladies. And I call it a disavowal ceremony. It is one of a series of sacred ceremonies that we do either virtually or in person to help women move through those brokenhearted seasons, and to move through with dignity and grace and blessings that come from God through others. And so I facilitate that with people individually, and there's also a group experience called Sanctuary Experience. The next one is coming up in a few weeks, coming up March 7th through 9th. And I want to share a video with you about it, and then I will be right back. Let's see how we can do this. Nope, that's a link. This is a new thing, so hang on for a second. There it is.
Hello, my name is Malikia K. Courtney, and this is
Dallas calling the Rebound Coach.
Woohoo! I'm the founder of Sanctuary Experience, and this weekend we have just had the most amazing time between sisterhood, fun, renewal, and healing. We've got a wonderful group of women here with us this weekend, and next time it will be your turn to come and enjoy with us. If you know that you're experiencing stress that is just over your head and overwhelming, if you know that you've got some trauma and pains that are chasing you and you have yet to create your tribe, you don't have that go-to space to unpack your stuff, Sanctuary Experience is for you. Dallas.
So Sanctuary Experience was created for the woman on the go. You're busy, you have tons of responsibilities, the schedule is encroaching and weighing you down. If you are overburdened by your own life choices, this space is for you. If there is no safe place to tell the whole truth, this space is for you. Make no excuses. We're not getting the days back. If you want peace, if you want joy, if you want fulfillment, if you want the success that somehow, some way you can't seem to reach, your next step is going to reboundcoach.com and signing up for the next Sanctuary Experience. I will see you there.
No excuses.
Okay. So your next opportunity for Sanctuary Experience is March 7th through 9th, which is just a few weeks away. You need to get your ticket now. You need to go to reboundcoach.com/sanctuary, or just, if you can't remember all that, reboundcoach.com. There's a button that says Sanctuary. Will take you right to where you need to go. Get your ticket. If you have questions, please reach out to me via this platform, DM. No matter where you are watching this, please reach out to me, or you can just go to reboundcoach.com for more information. Y'all, thank you for spending your time with me. It is an honor if I can pray with you. If you just need someone to vent to, if you're like, hey, I really like this, please share this video with others. Please share this and like it, and over on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. I'd love to spend more time with you. Thank you so very much. And until next time,